Okay, for our third video for the tourism sector video series, we're now going to talk about accommodation as a tourism sector. So we're done with destinations, attractions, and now we're going to talk about accommodation as a tourism sector. So if you see this picture in the right, so you see a very beautiful accommodation. I think this is a hotel. So accommodation as a tourism sector is defined as a location where tourists can rest and revive through their travels through or stay within a tourism destination. So dito nagsistay, nagpapahinga ang mga turista while they are in the tourist destination. So usually in our tourism experience, when we think about accommodations, the first thing we think about are hotels or Airbnb, and that is true. However, when we talk about accommodations, it goes beyond just hotels, and we'll talk about the different and the wide range of accommodations that are available in tourist destinations. So first, we have fully or partially serviced accommodations such as hotels, motels, and bed and breakfast. So when we say that a certain hotel is fully serviced, so meron dyang breakfast, may buffet, there's also a pool, there's spa, and there are other room services that are available for that specific area for the comfort of the one staying in that area while he or she is in the tourist destination. Of course, pag partially serviced, these are accommodations, or these are hotels or motels that do not have the complete package of the stay that we would expect in a more complex or more high-end hotel. So going down the range of accommodations, we also have self-catering accommodations such as apartments. So dito naman nagsistay ang ibang mga turista but they don't have room services here. They probably don't have toiletries here. You have to bring your own toiletries. They don't serve food here. It's really just a place for you to stay while you are in the tourist destination, and for the needs such as food, toiletries, comfort, you usually get it yourself as a tourist. So syempre, these apartment accommodations are for low budget tourists. And of course, there are other types of accommodation based on the specific characteristic of a tourist. Like for example, if a tourist is a camper or a trailer, so meaning we talk about mobile travelers, like backpackers, they really just don't stay in a tourist destination for a long period of time, but they go from one place to another, and then there's really no like permanent place that they stay in the tourism destination. They just camp out. No, these are examples of accommodations for them. And also, there is what we call an accommodation within mobile transportation. So, for example, you want to go from one place to another in style. An example for that accommodation is, of course, your cruise. So, cruise is both a transportation and it's also an accommodation. As you can see in the picture, diba? This cruise ship has, of course, a place for you to rest, a place for you to eat, and also to be able to enjoy certain amenities. And also, there's a growing number of accommodations in the sharing economy, or what we call the house guests. So usually, nagpapatira sila ng mga tourists in their house, no? For those who are really low budget tourists. So saan marami ito? May mga ganito, for instance, in Boracay, no? For those na talagang low budget tourists, they just stay in somebody else's house. Meron din ganito in Maldives, for instance. If you go to the main island of Maldives, some residences there can allow guests to stay within their house for low budget tourists. So in the previous slides, we talked about the range of accommodation based on the services that they can offer to the tourist. Now we'll talk about the type of accommodation. So in terms of types, of course, we know the hotels. That's the most common accommodation for mid-range and upper-range tourists. And then there's also what we call boutique hotels. So boutique hotels are hotels that have, certain themes like culture or heritage theme. Like the picture that you see here, it's a more of a country yard theme type of boutique hotel. So the boutique hotels, aside from the amenities that they offer, their marketing point is in terms of the themes that is offered by their hotel. And of course, we have the lower budget types of accommodations like guest houses, bed and breakfast, and inns. We also have yung self-catering accommodations like apartments and cottages wherein certain services are not available like food and toiletries. And again, these tourists are the one who are going to access these services at their own expense. And then we go to more specialized types of accommodations, like for example, campus accommodation. So, for example, De La Salle University has bed spaces for, let's say, visiting professors and also visiting students. An example of another campus accommodation is in De La Salle College of St. Benil, wherein they have their own hotel, which is also a laboratory for their HRIM students. And then we also have youth accommodation, like your YMCA and your YWCA. YMCA in the Philippines is found in Manila, malapit sa SM Manila. And then we also have medical facilities as examples of accommodations, especially for medical tourism availers. For example, St. Luke's Hospital is an example of a medical tourism hospital. People from different countries that are near the Philippines, like for example, doon sa may Asia Pacific, they fly some patients here because we have good and cheaper medical procedures here in the Philippines. And of course, dahil nandito na sila sa Pilipinas, aside from getting their medical procedures, they also get a taste of tourist experience. So ang tawag doon medical tourism. And of course, big hospitals like St. Luke's Medical Center and Makati Medical Center already offers some sort of accommodation for these types of patients. And then as explained earlier, we have cruise lines, ferries, and trains that are also both transport and accommodation. And then of course, if yung iyong target destination, meron kang friends doon or you have relatives, and then that is also an example of accommodation. You're going to stay with your friend or your family member in your tourist destination. And of course, we have the sharing economy, like your Airbnb and yung mga nagpapatira sa bahay as a part of their accommodation. So in this video, we were able to define what an accommodation is, and we were able to talk about the range and the types of accommodation. In the next video, we'll talk about the fourth tourism sector, which is events management.